So there was this there was a woman, and this woman, oh, I forgot that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. So there was this woman, and this woman was an avid bottle collector. Did I tell you the story?
No.
I told you the story?
Probably.
Does it sound familiar?
I don't know.
She collected a lot of bottles. How about now?
Sure.
And
Yes.
yeah, any bottle you can think of: plastic, metal, glass, sand, glass. Any bottle that she got, she collected these bottles. And it got to a point where literally her house was becoming filled with these bottles. She was getting older. Her kids had moved out, and she'd taken over their rooms with beer bottles and with everything. And they were empty, by the way, right? If anyone's looking to make some. But so what happened is, she goes at one point, her kids say to her, "Mom, you got to move out of the house because the house is just too big for you. Forget the bottles. The house is too big, and it's better to downsize," right? Has anyone ever seen somebody do this with their grandparents or something like that, where they move them out of a bigger house to a smaller apartment, something manageable, right? So he goes and says, "Time to move." And she goes, "Yeah, I think you're right." She says, "You guys are right." So they find her a nice apartment, and she's about to move. And before she's about to move, she goes, "So what are we doing with the bottles? Like, where are we going to move them? Like, where in the apartment?" She's like, "Mom, I don't think you get it. The bottles aren't coming." And she's like, "Then I ain't coming. My bottles ain't coming, I ain't coming." "Mom, are you serious?" "Yes." "Mom, do you realize that this is not good for your health? To be living in such a big home, to be able to take care of it and whatever, it's just not good for even your sanity to live in such a big place. Don't you recognize you should probably move to a smaller place?" "Yes, I recognize that." "Do you recognize, Mom, that it will harm you and be bad if you stay?" "Yes, I recognize. So, Mom, let's go." Not going without the bottles. And Kachava, the woman didn't go. She won't go without her bottles. She ended up dying in her bottles. I don't know if that part's true. That was just for my own addition. But she clearly not a good idea for her. What would you say about this woman? What would you say? What would you say about this woman? Stubborn.
She's a hoarder.
What? She's a hoarder, yes. But relevant to something. What would you say about this woman? Selfish. What do you say? Crazy.
She's trapped in her own world.
Trapped in her own world. What do you say?
Committed.
What? Committed. It's a nice way of looking at it. Into an insane asylum, maybe. Yeah, okay. What do you say?
A lot of bottle baggage.
A lot of bottle baggage. You said it well. I like how you said that. A lot of bottle baggage. Okay, and we're going to see how apropos. Can you recycle it? Only when she's dead. All right, because she ain't giving those up. Okay, let me tell you a different story. There was a guy who came to Aish HaTorah. Guy came here. He was here for a number of years. Did you know the bottle story or no?
No.
You didn't know? Wow. This guy came to Aish HaTorah. He was here for a number of years. Not number, because it's not a word, but a number. And he was getting into it. And he was enjoying it. And he says to me, he wanted to learn with me one-on-one. We sat, we learned together. And then he said to me the following day, he said, "Listen, we were sitting down one day for dramatic impact. I will sit and explain. We were sitting together one day. And what happened is he came along, and I'm going to get in trouble if you sit here, so I'm going to do this. So he came along, and what happened was, he says to me, I'm cool with everything in Judaism. I'm totally cool with everything in Judaism. I buy it all. There's only one thing that's holding me back from going forward and actually full-fledged." So this guy says to me the following idea. He says, "I'm in. The only problem I have is salmon." Salmon. Salmon. He said, "If not for salmon, I'm in." I said, What about salmon?" He's like, so no, he says to me that he wants to eat salmon. And if not for salmon, then he'd be in. I said, "You're in luck. Salmon is kosher." "Great, let's do it." So he says, no, you don't get it. It's a particular salmon that they make in this restaurant that's a non-kosher restaurant. It's like the Mars bars. It's specifically this salmon that's holding me back from going straight with the whole thing. I said, okay, can we just take a step back? You mean to tell me you're good with Shabbos? Like, that makes sense to you? He's like, yeah, sure. Kosher? Nida? Yeah. Yom Kippur? Yeah. Shatnez? Yeah. I'm in with all of it. The only problem I have is salmon. Okay, so in other words, you mean to tell me, let me just get this clear. You believe in a heaven and a hell and this kind of ideas? You believe in reward and punishment, all that kind of stuff. He says, yeah. I said, so what you're saying is, you want to give up eternity for a stinky piece of fish? And the guy said, actually, it smells pretty good. I said, you'll give up a eternity for a good smelling piece of fish? That's what you're willing to do? And he said, yes. What do you think about that guy? Interesting that you said about the bottles differently than you are about the fish.
What do you mean?
By the bottles, you looked at it a little bit more, you looked at it a little more negatively. Selfish and different ways.
Say a priority isn't selfish.
So priorities you mean in a negative way?
Yeah.
Okay, good, then we're on the same page. And what happens over here is that how many of us have bottles and or fish, or perhaps fish in your bottles? It's pretty gross. How many of us have things that we know we should be doing something, but we don't do it because of X? Does everybody understand the question? Did anyone understand the question? I need at least 3 people to move on. Okay, good. Right? The idea is that we all have some sort of, come over here. We all have some sort of bottle, some sort of something which is stopping us from growth. And you think about that, that's a little bit insane. It's a little bit insane. Are you nuts? Don't you know that maybe this thing is going to be good for you? Don't you know this thing may even be better for you? So why would you give it up just to be able to have your piece of fish? So I would suggest myself, not only is it that we give up eternity for pieces of fish, but most of us are aware of what it is. We have things that are holding us back and stopping us from growth in some way, shape, or form, right? And if we were to go ahead and we were to just get rid of that one thing, then what would happen? It would change our whole life. Our whole life could change. So many of us have things that are in front of us that are stopping us from growing. So when a person goes ahead and recognizes the fact that we have things that are holding us back. You just came in, so I'm going to pick it. You speak English?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're wearing a shirt in Hebrew. I got nervous. Okay, so where are you from?
Toronto.
Toronto. Okay, could you be doing better in your life than you are now?
Couldn't everybody?
No, I can't.
Wow.
Impressive, no? You're right. Okay, fine. I could. It's like a nice way of getting out of the question. Could you be doing better?
Absolutely.
You could be doing better than you're doing right now. Are there things in your life that you know that are holding you back from doing better?
Always obligations, commitments.
No, I don't mean obligations. Obligations you're kind of stuck with. In other words, personal obligations like a spouse and kids. You're stuck. But I mean, let's talk about other ideas, right? Let's say, for example, not that. In other words, something that you could get rid of, but you didn't get rid of yet. In other words, there's something that you see, like, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The devil. So this thing right here. Would you all agree with me that you could be a lot more productive in your life if you didn't have this?
Yes.
Who said it?
I did.
Well, that's impressive.
I disagree.
Who disagrees?
I did.
Yeah? Bring it.
I mean, this device has allowed me to network throughout the whole country, throughout the whole world, allowed me to communicate with people who I would have never been able to communicate with prior to not having a cell phone. It's allowed me to investigate different situations in the world and done research that I've come to opinions and conclusions on subjects where if I wasn't able to learn from different sources prior to that, I wouldn't have come to that conclusion and I wouldn't have the knowledge I have today.
Can anyone rebut that?
This is a moneymaker.
Can anyone rebut that? I could do it. I just want to have fun here. Go back. What do you want to
So I
say?
have the most basic cell phone possible. In fact, in Israel, I don't even have a cell phone. my job and my ability to network and associate with the people that I need to, in my opinion, are all face-to-face emails taking care of that. So now, I get it, you're combining a whole lot of entities. You can call, you can research, you can do everything. But yet 10 years ago, I feel like people were doing all those things. Just maybe with
I'm not suggesting that this is you can't do a lot of things with. I suggest you can do a tremendous amount of things. 90% of them are illegal. But the idea that I'm suggesting is that how much time do you actually use doing what you just said versus wasting your time?
Well, who's to say that when I go on Facebook and I'm...
Who says that's wasting time? Is that what you're going to say? I hear that. Okay, fine.
You can make an argument.
That's your prerogative. That's your prerogative. And if we were in 11th grade right now and having a debate class, then we'd have fun. But we're in reality now, in which case, let's not play the game. Let's be real. Is it a productive use of your time to sit on Facebook for 12 hours? Well, I made somebody smile once by sending them a wink. You know what I mean? So yes, it's productive. Yeah, but I'm not saying it's not, that you didn't do something good. I'm not saying we don't set up campaigns and change the world. I'm not saying we don't do surgery cross-country with technology. We do amazing things with it. There's no question about it. But my question is, put it on a scale and take a look. In your own life, there was a discussion here in Israel where they had a gathering of all the yeshivas, all the different yeshivas, to discuss the concept of technology. And one rabbi got up and said the following: forget about inappropriate. Forget about it. Let's not even talk about that, right? And in terms of people looking at inappropriate things. Who says that's inappropriate? Maybe that's productive art. Okay, however you want to look at it, but we can agree on that. Forget about inappropriate things. The rabbi suggested the next time you sit by the computer, take a stopwatch with you and just time yourself. How much time do you spend on the computer, on your phone? How much of that time would you yourself, don't let anyone else be the judge, would you yourself say is productive? And how much would you say is, let's call it, not as productive? Do you understand my point? My point is a very simple one. This thing, excuse me one second. This thing has totally owned us. Yeah, what do you say?
But how do you measure productivity?
Okay, that's an excellent question. So what are your goals in life? Where are you headed? What do you want out of life? Are you getting closer to that or further away from that? The way I measure productivity is a very simple concept. I measure productivity in a way of, I have a goal in my life. I want to get somewhere. Okay? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor, let's say. Okay? And you go ahead and you have a person who goes ahead and becomes an expert in their field because they focus and they're learning about that stuff that they need to learn. And that's all that they can learn because it's in a textbook. Or a person goes, the heart. And then they get a movie called The Heart. And they get a picture. They go, oh, let me just look at that for 10 minutes. Let me look at that for 20 minutes. Look at that for 20 minutes. And then there's cramming right before the test. Or they don't even have to cram because they just digitally alter the test and cheat. In other words, what's the question? In other words, about a person's life of productivity in terms of what we're doing. How much time are we wasting in this thing? Could we be doing more in our lives? Could we be affecting? Let's be very Michael Jackson-esque, okay? Could you heal the world, make it a better place for you in Africa and the entire human race? Right? Could we maybe do a little bit more and be focused more if we weren't so sidetracked by all the ads on the side, which are custom tailored to you because they know what you're looking at? This is not a complicated question. People that fight this idea are those that are owned by it to the extent, and I'm sorry I said there was a cheap shot, but I'm saying, in other words, that we're owned so much, nobody ever recognizes it. Don't misunderstand me. This is a tremendous tool. But I'll tell you, someone said once to me. He said like this. He goes, what is what's the symbol of this product? What's the symbol? A bitten apple. The forbidden fruit. And then the guy goes, and that's why God had to take out Steve Jobs. I'm not kidding. He said this. I'm like, okay, how do you feel about that? But to an extent, it's funny that he said that. But is it not true? We have so much information, don't we? But let me ask you, of that information, how much of it do we actually digest? We have the potential of so much information, but when was the last time you read an article from beginning to end? Now I know one of you is going to be like, I did it. Okay, I get it. Okay, you did it. Yeah? But you're the exception. Yeah? Most people read the headlines, the sub, about 3 lines, next, because there's so much information. Too much information becomes no information. Do we understand that idea? Sure. When you have an Encyclopedia Britannica in your house, when that salesman comes along, you actually read it. Yeah? Did you have an Encyclopedia Britannica? Absolutely. And did you read it? And did you read the whole paragraph?
We still have it.
That's right.
He has it on a CD.
Okay.
I have all
On a CD, right? You put it off to Led Zeppelin, you put in a little Encyclopedia Britannica, right? The idea is what? But you go, you read it, but when you read an article, you can bust me up if you like. I got busted up once, but do you read as proficiently the articles on the computer as you do in a book in front of you?
No.
Not at all. Thank you for being honest. And the idea is, could it be that we would be doing more things with our life? And we didn't even get to Judaism yet. Just hold off. That's coming with Kool-Aid, right? I'm talking, it's very simple. Could it be we'd be more productive people? How do you define productivity? I define it as movement. Not just of the eyes. Yeah? That Samsung has now captured that technology. We don't have to touch it anymore. You just move your eyes and it moves for you. Yeah? So that's the question. Is there anything in our life that's holding us back? I would suggest this. Has anyone found themselves ever checking their email?
Yes.
Multiple times a day? Has anyone ever find themselves checking their email multiple times a minute? Anyone? That depends. My phone doesn't have that because it wastes a battery. No, it wastes a battery. So if I need to every once in a while, if it's whatever, I'll check. And then it'll pop up if it's necessary. Otherwise, you wonder why your battery runs out so quickly. Answer is because it's constantly checking every 15 seconds.
Well, why do you need your battery if you don't think that if you think your phone is not productive?
When did I say a phone's not productive?
Well, you said being on your phone.
Yeah. When did I say being on your phone is not productive?
I mean, you haven't.
Did anyone here think I said that?
I think you said that.
Yeah?
I didn't hear it, but I think you said that.
You think I said that?
Probably implying that, yeah.
Anyone else think that? So everyone else got the point? Let me explain now. The idea is like this. Yeah?
But you were saying that you can use it for good things, but if you waste your time.
This thing could be very productive. It's extremely productive. I just happen to be pointing out you don't use it for productivity as much as for non-productivity.
Assume that we don't use it for
Okay, so let me ask you. Let me ask you. Do you use it for more productivity or less productivity?
I would say half and half. It goes there.
Half and half.
I mean,
50-50.
no, not even 50-50.
Oh, it's more for productive.
There are sometimes more for unproductive.
Come on.
Yeah, there's sometimes when I'm more on Facebook than when I'm researching something or vice versa.
So you're saying generally, there's no general. It's like 50-50. What are you researching in the past couple days?
News in Gaza. I mean, I'm not going to sit over here and tell you exactly what I research.
Of course you're not, because I nailed you. Come on, think about it for a second. News on Gaza. You have to think of something, because you're not researching anything. And if you don't want to tell me you're researching, because that's not research. That's just, you want to buy a premium grade? Anthony, you understand what's going on? What are you researching? You're not in school. You're not doing anything right now. You're not working. You're not with it. So what exactly are you researching? If you didn't have a phone, what would be? Your life would be exactly the same if you did, except for you'd have looked at less research. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, come on, give me the baloney. You're fighting me for the sake of fighting. We're not being honest here.
I'm not fighting for the sake of fighting. I'm trying to understand what you're trying to get.
What I'm trying to get at is this is just an example. I'm trying to get at the fact that you waste a lot of time with this. You use this more for wasting time than you do for productivity. Would you agree? So you're going against what you said a minute ago.
I'm actually trying to explain to you, but you won't understand it. So I'm just going to agree with you and say, okay.
Good. Now that we're on the same page. Okay, so the idea is like this. I'm not even going to go down that road because I know you. Yeah, you're from New York. We got this. We're good. You've got to. Do you have Russian blood? You're Russian. Okay, I'm not. Okay. Okay. I know Eliezer. Okay, so back off. Okay. But the idea of what I was saying is, nonetheless, it's just an example. And by the way, if I'm wrong, so I'm wrong. Fine, that could be. Not really, but let's say I'm wrong with that. Something else. Is there anything that we know about in our lives that's holding us back? And if there is, why don't we get rid of it? Would we all agree that we should? Do we all agree that we should? Have you guys ever found, I'll tell you something that helped me back tremendously. Jack Bauer. The yeshiva guys know what I'm talking about. Jack Bauer. What's Jack Bauer? What's the guy's real name? Kiefer something. Sure. Kiefer. Yeah? Me and him are on a first name basis. That show totally destroyed my week. Why? I don't watch television. But my brother-in-law told me there's this thing 24, you have to see it. So I was like, what is it? He's like, you got to try it. I was like, is everybody doing it? He's like, yes. I'm like, I'm in, right? So what was it? He sends me CDs. This was season 3. So this is about 5 years ago, I think. Maybe, no, more than that. This was, I remember which apartment I was in, because I remember it was in the middle of the night. This was like 8 or 9 years ago, right? So this is, I mean, now you can probably just get everything online, but at the time maybe you couldn't, I don't know. He sends me these 5 CDs. Now, for those unfamiliar, there's a television show. For those unfamiliar, something called television. Yeah, now, on there are shows. Now, there's one show called 24. What was unique about it is that every season was literally 24 hours.
The whole season is an episode?
The whole season.
Episode was an hour.
24 episodes.
There's 24 episodes, and each show was an hour. Really 45 minutes because commercials or whatever. But the idea is what each thing was to be like an hour. So, and it was brilliant how they did it, because like you'd watch it and it would be interesting, but then at the very end, the last 2 minutes, everything happened. Right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Who saw it? Who's seen this before? Right? Everything happens in the last, you don't have to watch the first 45 minutes. It's just the last 2 minutes of the show. It's like, and then there's a bomb and an explosion, the guy dies, and he comes back to life. He dies again, comes back to life again. And then last show, is he gonna come back to life again? And then what happens? And then when else goes to boom, right? And the show ends. And it just pulls you into the next show. So I had them all together. I spent a day watching this thing. You understand? I couldn't. I was Moser Nefesh. I mamish gave of myself to do this. I'm falling asleep and I'm opening my eyes, to make sure. And boom, I'm like, no, right? And then it comes back. I was like, I can't believe it. And I just crashed. It killed my week. I was just so tired. It was like Shavuos, but with show. Anyway, so I did is what it totally killed my week. What held me back from being able to do what I wanted to do in my life and being productive was this television show. Does everybody understand that idea? Now, let's not get too idea of different ideas. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you do research a lot or whatever. And maybe you are involved in communications of ways that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Maybe it could be, and then it's not for you. But for other people, then you'd understand what I mean with this. Everybody has their thing of what it is. Shouldn't we get rid of it? So we wonder, at some point, why is it we're not able to be the greatest that we want to be? Everybody wants to be greater than we are, right? Everybody wants to be greater than they are. But what holds back a person from being greater than they are? You do. You hold yourself back from being greater than who you are today. Nobody else. We all like to blame other people, and this goes all the way back. This goes all the way back. First person, Adam. God goes to Adam. He says to Adam Arishon, Adam goes ahead and he eats from the Eitz Hadas. He eats from Apple, right? He eats from Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs' hand went far and wide, yeah? And Adam goes ahead and he eats from the forbidden fruit, which, by the way, according to no commentaries, was an apple. But anyway, the idea is he goes, he eats from the forbidden fruit. God comes to him, and what does he say? Right? Okay, good. First he goes, Yaakov, where are you? Right? And then he goes and he says to him, why are you naked? Right. That's another thing that's talked about. Well, it's not, he doesn't say, why am I naked? He says to himself, to each other, they say why, right? But he goes, and God says to him, he goes, Adam, did you eat from the tree? So what did Adam say? A lesson that all husbands have taken since? It's the woman you gave me. Yeah? I don't know you guys' backgrounds if you know the story, but the storyline is as follows. God says to Adam, don't eat from a certain tree. Adam tells Eve, don't eat from that tree, don't even touch the tree. The snake comes along, and at the time, according to Jewish tradition, the snake it wasn't like the snake you have today, it could walk and talk. And the snake goes to Eve and seduces Eve into a lot of things. But one particular thing basically tricks her into touching the tree. Once she touches the tree, she ends up eating from the tree. She ends up giving Adam to eat from the tree. Adam eats from the tree. God goes to Adam and says, did you eat from the tree? And he says, it's the woman you gave me. It's because of her. So Adam God then turns to Eve and goes, did you eat from the tree? What'd she go?
Snake.
It's a snake. It's a snake. And he's like, snake? He's like, yeah, I'm guilty, right? He goes, I'm the one. He's a snake. And the snake gets punished, and Eve gets punished, and Adam gets punished. Lots of punishments going on. What should Adam have responded when God turned and said, Adam, did you eat from the tree?
I'm sorry.
He should have said, like, yeah, and I'm really sorry. My bad. Can we start over? Okay, I'm really sorry. And there are those that say that who knows what would have been in the world had he done that. But instead, what does he say? It's somebody else. And they shift the blame. The only time a person will actually be able to change in this world is if we don't shift the blame. And if we start accepting the fact that maybe we're to blame. Maybe we did something wrong. Maybe there's something we have to change. Maybe there's something that I did wrong and maybe I have to go and work on that idea. And when you start doing that, by the way, you'll start to end up seeing that there are things that we have to change and there are things, and we even know what they are. We play games that we don't know, but we know what they are. Are we willing to mature up and go and make those decisions? So we discussed yesterday something which is also a follow-up of what we're doing today right now. All of this comes down to, well, why should I care to make the decisions? The answer is, well, how badly do you want something? In other words, when you go ahead and you recognize that there's something that you want in life, you have to first take a look and see, do you want it? Research. You have to go and see, like, how badly do I want that thing? Is this something which is worth it for me? If the answer is yes, then start taking a look and say, what's holding you back from getting there? What's in your way? What's holding you back from getting there? And so many of us, like I said, we already know the answer. We know the answer of what's holding us back, so why don't we just get rid of it? So I can tell you personally, when I was 17, I remember about the 19. I remember where I was. I remember I was 19. I ate something that was holding me. I felt, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, so I'm not going to tell you. I know it's hard to believe that I'd be embarrassed by something, but I am. And there's something that I felt was holding me back. And I spoke to a friend of mine about it, and I said, what do? I think something's holding me back. He's like, what is it? I said, I don't really want to say. I'm embarrassed. He's like, okay. I said, well, are you going to help me? He's like, how can I help you? I don't know what it is. So I was like, fine, I'll tell you. He's like, sucker. So he goes ahead, and I tell him what it is. And he goes, what?
What is it?
So anyway, so that was, I told him what it is, and he goes, stop doing it. I said, thank you for that brilliant advice. That was so helpful. I really appreciate that. Thank you for helping me with that. I should stop doing it. I'll now stop, right? So clearly, is that good advice? Yeah. It's excellent advice. It's excellent advice. Just stop doing it. You see, you have to actively do certain things. Most things that we do that's holding us back are external things. The things that are not connected with us or our body. It's, let's say, a thing like this. It's, let's say, a computer. It's, let's say, a certain food. It's, let's say, cigarettes. It's, let's say, alcohol. It's, let's say, certain people. It's, let's say, a certain community. It's, let's say, a certain job or school or environment, etc. In which case, what do you need to do? Don't do it. It sounds so simple, right? Have you heard of Occam's razor? Occam's razor basically states the most simple answer is usually the answer. So the question is, it's not a matter of like, oh no, but it's so hard, I need to get a support group and build up to it and whatever. And I'm not denying that. Maybe you do need some sort of support group and you need to speak it out and whatever it is. But step number one is stop doing it. When you're in the clutches of something, it's very hard to not do it. When you get out of the clutches of something, then it's easier to take a look and see, oh no, what am I doing? Let me get away from it. In other words, don't even discuss it, don't even think about it, step away. It goes back to the idea, even beautifully, to the story about Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve. What was Eve's mistake with the snake? What was her mistake? What was the mistake she made? Is anyone who does not know the story? I told it to you, but does anyone not know the story again? Please be honest with me, I'll be more in detail. Okay, I'll say it one more time. Adam is told, don't eat from the tree. Eve is told by Adam, don't eat and don't even touch it. And then the snake comes along and says, hey, Eve, what's up? She's like, good. She's like, oh, why don't you have from that tree? Oh, I can't. Oh, come on, don't worry about it. No, I can't even touch it, because if you touch it, you're going to die. He's like, come on, you ain't going to die, Eve. Just try it. Come on. And she's like, no, I won't. And he trips her and he pushes her into the tree and she touches the tree and she doesn't die. And he's like, see, You didn't die. Don't worry about it. Take a little bitey bite. Have some of that fruit of the tree. So he goes and she's like, oh, I guess you're right. And she ends up eating from the tree and giving Adam. What was the mistake of Chava? What was her mistake?
I think the mistake was from Adam.
Okay.
For telling Chava that if you, by adding on to the rule, if you touch it, you'll die.
Is this your own answer? Have you heard this before?
Sounds like it.
Sounds like you heard it, or?
No, it sounds like that's the problem.
Is this, you just came up with that answer?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, very good. You're like, why? Right? Yeah, I'm saying, charasho. So I'll tell you, because that answer is one of the answers given by the commentaries, that Adam actually made a mistake by going ahead and imposing more stringencies. But the problem wasn't putting more stringencies. The problem was saying that those stringencies are what God said when God didn't actually say that, right? What God said is, don't eat from the tree. And Adam's like, don't even touch the tree. Adam could have said to her, honey, don't eat from the tree. And it's a good idea not even to touch it, because then, we don't want to fall into some sort of problem. And then if that would have happened and she would have touched it, she would have said, oh, it's not that you weren't allowed to, it was just like a safeguard, right? But the fact that he put it not as a safeguard, but as an obligation, so then she made a mistake because he made a mistake, right? Okay, good. That's a beautiful answer, and that is an answer. What was this mistake, though, that Chava made, that Eve made? Yeah.
I think that she should have gone to Adam right away because of what happened.
Okay.
I think there was a communication lacking.
Should have gone to, okay, good. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay, now I didn't know what you meant, and this is why I wanted to hear it more clear. The mistake that Eve made is the fact that she even responded to the snake in the first place. In other words, it's like this. We all have temptations, right? We all have things that tempt us to do the wrong thing. Some of us are tempted by the fruit of another, right? Some of us are tempted by different things. We get all tempted, then temptations, whatever they are. My temptations are not always the same as yours. Yours are not nice. I'll give you mine in particular. What are my temptations? So one of my struggles, and one of the things which holds me back in terms of a lot of different areas, is food.
I knew it.
Did you?
What were you gonna say?
What
some type of food.
What type of food?
I don't know.
Come on. What? Tacos?
Salmon. That was your
Salmon, no. No, it wasn't me. I had a friend, No, I'm the bottle lady. I ain't the salmon guy. Yeah? Yeah, I love bottles. As a matter of fact, I don't know, but the idea is that, yeah, what kind of food? Come on. It's kosher, it's kosher, it's kosher. It's kosher.
Okay. Oh my God. That's slow right now. What's someone else on my
Matzo ball soup.
sushi.
That's right, matzo ball soup. I cannot get enough of the matzo ball soup. Right? Okay, I say the whole chocolate, junk, cake, cookies. I know with a figure like this, you're shocked. But the idea is that I totally go ahead and I love this stuff. I love this stuff. I love it. I love it. I know there's a thing, you don't love it, you just love to eat it. No, I love it. I am madly in love with it, and I also eat it. You understand? And the idea is that I'll tell you, when I walk by a chocolate cake, I have a whole conversation with it. And it's a mistake. It's a mistake. Because I know that I'm trying to keep healthy. I walk by the chocolate cake, and I'll look at it, and it will look back. And then I'll say, like, I can't. I'm married. Okay, this is not an analogy, people. Okay, everyone relax. Yeah, it's really cake. You really look good tonight, and I really would just love to dive in. And I'd love to make it a special night. But I can't. Fine, just one piece. And then I'm done. The mistake is that I even get into a conversation with it. What should I say to it? I should look at that cake and I'd be like, and just walk away. Don't even have a conversation. What you got?
When the world was created and everything was there, did she know that a snake has a bad reputation? Like, like chocolate and candy and stuff. So when you think, oh, fine, but you know that it's bad, and you know that it's not good, which is also bad.
The snake had a reputation of being a snake.
Back then.
Yeah, the snake was the Yetzer Hara, it was the evil inclination.
Okay.
That's what it was. It was an external thing. The evil inclination only became internal post this whole situation. At that situation, the snake was a separate entity. That was the thing that was the snake. Right? It was sly, wily, urim. It was a known thing that this is what it is. So what Chava should have done when the snake said, hey, I got some stuff, you just got to try. She should have just walked away and not even have a conversation. What does every guy do when he wants to pick up a girl? Right? Yeah, I know, you wouldn't know. You're so special. Your mom's your idol. You wouldn't know. Like, what else? Tell us what. You cook and clean, don't you? Right? Idea is what? Idea is like, what does a guy do if he's with a girl? It's like every girl, like for the ladies in the room, okay, so the truth is that you guys look somewhat on the good side here. But let's say, not that I'm implying the ones that come other times, but I am. And sometimes they don't look as whatever. Don't be tempted. In other words, all the guy needs to do is say, hi, do you have the time? That's a classic pickup line. Do you have the time, but you're wearing a watch? Oh, I know. I just wanted to know your time. Oh, it's 1 o'clock, you know. Answer is even getting in the conversation in the first place. So what have we got? What have we got? Let's do this. I don't like to debate and fight with lunch, so that's why I'm going to do this quick. Yeah. If it was another class, I'd keep going, but if it's lunch, you don't mess. So a guy like this. We started at the beginning very simply the idea of a person goes in and a person all these bottles. Get rid of the bottles. And what happens? Don't you know it's bad for you? I don't care if it's bad for him. He doesn't do it anyway. After that, we move a person with a fish. Person's going to mess up your whole life just with fish. One piece of stinky or delicious smelling fish. And says, yeah, I'm willing to give the alternative for that idea. What are we, silly? We have so many things that stop us getting us away. For example, this, not for some of you two in the room, but for everyone else. This is something which comes along and destroys any sort of idea of some semblance of productivity. I'm not saying you're not productive at all of that. I'm saying that if you didn't have it, you might be able to be even more productive and do more things that you do than when you do have it. You wouldn't just automatically go there. People don't even realize when they're doing it. People don't even realize when they're doing it. People don't even realize when they're doing it. What happens is they get in a situation where they're just living with the ideas and it comes to the understanding where we're totally owned by it. I'll give you an example of what I mean by owned by it. Has anyone ever woken up 2 o'clock in the morning, and when you wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, you reach for your phone and check your Facebook? Yeah, you wake up, the first thing you do, before you still have crust on your eyes. Yeah, you can't even, what? That's, come on, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're like, what happens? You look through to see what's on my wall. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, there's nothing there. You go to the bathroom, you come back, and you check again. Because maybe between 2 and 2:03, somebody posted something on your wall. If you're even owned more, you take it with you to the bathroom, right? And then someone borrows your phone, and they have no idea where it's been. Anyway, the idea is, what? Think about that next time you borrow someone's phone. All right, but the point we have, what happens, the person gets to such a level of people, do we know things that are holding us back? Everybody's understanding the concept of what we have things that are stopping us. If we just get rid of those things, why don't we get rid of those things? The answer is because of the fact that maybe we don't want to get rid of those things. But ultimately, don't you know it's worth it? Yeah, it's worth it, but we're not mature enough to do it. So what do? We got to slowly understand the concept. How do you do it? Do it. Just do it. Just do it. Nike. We got to be careful. You know what happened when Tiger Woods did that. But the idea is to understand that, and he was their spokesman, right? But I mean, just do it. But I mean, the idea is what? But just do it. That's give it up. Stop. Get away from it. And once you get rid of it, no more. Done. Finito. Terminado. Right? We're not involved with it anymore. You walk away from it. When a person walks away from it, then you start to see your life changing tremendously. And it's all comes down to every single person knows that. So when you go ahead and the next time the chocolate cake calls your name, or your tacos, if you're into that. All right, so the next time your taco calls your name, goes, hello, is it me you're looking for? You're like, no, I mean, yes, let's talk. All right, what do? We blame it on the next person. Blame it on the next person, we got to take the blame ourselves and start to see what is it. Then once we stop doing it, don't even get involved in the first place. When you get involved in the first place, that's when all the trouble starts. So was the snake the snake? The snake was a snake. She knew the snake was a snake. We know a snake is a snake. You're talking to a snake, you didn't get snaked. In which case, what do you do? Stay away from the snake, and all of a sudden, life's going to be good, and we will go on. Okay, if I did, I just have to apologize now. If I did offend you guys, oh, that's too bad. Okay, so if I offended you, I apologize. I did, but you not. But if I offended you, then I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. I hope that you don't take it too personally. Shoot, what's going on here? Okay, so I'm going to be a little more intense next time. Okay, gentlemen, ladies, been a pleasure. See you when I see you. If I don't, then I won't take care, and bye-bye.